We are so excited for this next conversation, guys. Recently featured on Bill Maher's Club Random. Check it out, and then we'll give him a proper introduction. Here we go.
We do love America. I mean, Michael Corleone, when he has to go testify, he's a war hero. He was. They
Bill,
make.
let me tell you this. I was indicted 7 times. I had 2 federal racketeering cases and a state racketeering case, and I love America. And at one time, I hated the FBI and I hated the government. I grew up hating them because I love my dad, and they were, constantly harassing him, in my view. Now I understand a little bit more.
But didn't he kill people?
Well, that's what they say.
Love that conversation. You guys can check that out. And now we're lucky to have him here today. He's a former Colombo Crime Family. He's now turned to a best-selling author, a podcaster, and a motivational speaker. Please welcome to the show, Michael Franzese. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Michael.
Thank you, Matt. And unfortunately, I have a touch of laryngitis. I've been speaking a lot this whole week. So I'll do my best to get through it, but I didn't want to disappoint you.
No worries. I appreciate you taking the time. And we had a chance to meet earlier a few weeks back, doing a story for I believe, we were covering you for a British outlet, and I was able to hear your story, and I was like, man, this is such a great story. And I know you've been doing the rounds. You've been doing Bill Maher. You had Andrew Tate. You had some others. I want you to tell me some other ones you've done as well. But I just knew that your story of the realization you had about your experience, and I want to hear about this for you in a second. And you don't have to talk too much if it's hurting the voice, but the thing we want to know, that our audience is going to want to know, is that someone like you had gone through the life that you've had and now are able to apply that knowledge to the current political system that we have here. Not just the current, but you're making a commentary. I believe that the life you've lived, you're able to use that to make a commentary on the dysfunction of the entire system, not just a few things wrong here and there, but an entire makeup that says that our government, our system in place, is not being run in an honest way. So let's go back to the beginning with you. Can you tell us what briefly your experience going through this crime family situation, and the fact that we had seen your story shown on Goodfellas, the movie Goodfellas, and then you ended up where you are now, completely changed man. How did that happen for you?
Well, with me, I got involved in the life because my dad was the underboss of the Colombo family, one of the 5 New York Cosa Nostra families. And so I got involved when my dad got a 50-year prison sentence, and I saw it as a way to help him out. So I became a made member in 1975. I took an oath, and I was in that life for about 20 years and had some success. I was a caporegime. I reached that level. And, got involved in many, many different things, became a major target of law enforcement. I was indicted 7 times. I went to trial 5 times. I had 2 federal racketeering cases. I became a major target. Also fought my dad's case for, well over 30 years. So had a lot of experience with the government, with law enforcement, with the Department of Justice and all of that. So, and the court system, obviously. So that background sort of gave me a different perspective and outlook on the government operation, the government system. And so I see things a little bit differently because I've been there. I've been around politicians. I've been fighting the government, half of my life. So that experience, again, gave me a whole different perspective on what's happening in our government today.
Yeah, and again, I'm glad you're here with our audience, because we look at, and the reason I played the clip of Bill Maher is because we know Bill Maher. Sometimes he gets things right, sometimes he gets things wrong. And I did notice when I watched the interview, he was trying to get you to pinpoint some stuff to make your case. And I believe that you came back and said, look, this isn't about calling out one deceptive act. That's not what this is about. There's a central makeup of the way something functions. And I think our audience understands this. That's why we call ourselves, just so you know, we call ourselves the homeless left, because we are tired of the 2-party system. And we are frankly sick of the particular party, the Democratic Party, who's been lying to us the whole time. But we're not just saying, put this one guy in jail or lock this guy up and things will be right back to normal, because that's the crap they try to play with us right now with Trump. They try to say, this is the one unique problem. Get rid of him and everything will go back. No, that's not how things. So what I liked is that you pushed back on Bill Maher. You said, listen, there's an overall thing that's happening here that's not just about me calling out one particular incident. And I think he has a hard time understanding that because he wants to call out just the one thing. And you're saying, no, we have to look at this, the way the system is designed. Could you tell us how you were able to discover that, like from your experience in the crime family? What kind of things did you see from there that remind you of that type of behavior? Just like, or when was the moment you realized the correlation? When did you have that aha moment?
Well, I've seen it all along because I was involved with politicians back in the day. I mean,
Right.
I had them on my payroll. So, you know, we got to understand the government, like any other operation, whether it be corporate America, whether it be, you know, organized crime, it's all about money, power, and control.
Yep.
That's it. And the way our government is operating now, it's all about money, power, and control. And I think if Trump is doing anything right now, he's showing that these three things often cause corruption on a major scale. And we're seeing that now. And I want to make this clear to your audience. You know, people have said to me, "Oh, Michael, you know, you're buying into the Trump Kool-Aid and you know, Trump's your guy." And I tell people, look, I'm going to be 74 years old. I'm not buying into anybody's Kool-Aid. You know, I have one master in my life, and that's my God. That's it. But when I see something, I'll support it. And when I see something I shouldn't support, I'll talk about it because I have a platform. What Trump is doing now is trying to restore the government process in America by using Doge and showing every single day the corruption. This is not surprising to me at all. I've seen it. I've been involved in it. I was paying off politicians back in the day to get licenses that I needed for my gas business. You know, I was supporting politicians. What do politicians want? They want two things. They want money and they want votes. That's it. I controlled unions. We controlled unions on the street that were able to give them votes and money. We had huge pension funds. We supported their campaigns. We got them votes. We had the Teamsters Union. We had 2.5 million members plus their families. If you get the Teamsters to endorse you, you got a big voting block there. So we used to provide that, and in turn, they would do our bidding. Same thing now. All these lobbyists that go to these politicians, they give them money, they give them support in certain ways, and the politicians do their bidding. They don't do what's necessary for the people. They do what's going to line their pockets and keep them in power. So it's very simple for me to notice it because I was involved in it. And I think what's happening with Trump now is that he's exposing it to taxpayers. You know, I tell people all the time on my platform, you pay your taxes. You didn't cause this country to go $36 trillion in debt. It was corrupt politicians. It was irresponsibility that caused this. And we're suffering over it. So the fact that it's being exposed now and people on the left are jumping up and down is just, it's horrendous that they would even take that position. You know, we're seeing things now where money was allocated for things that we never wanted. I don't want my money to go into DEI services overseas. I don't want my money to pay for prisoners, okay, to get transsexual operations in prison. That's not how I want to spend my hard-earned tax money. I want it to benefit our citizens and the country in a responsible way. And so, you know, these people that are on the left and crying foul, why would you be crying foul? Unless you're involved in some devious action in some way. And I'm just happy that this administration is exposing that. That's all it is. It's not a question of buying into Kool-Aid. It's a question of right and wrong. And we've gone so far to the left over these past 4 years, and even during the Obama administration, the same thing. And, you know, that we have to bring this country back. And has it gone on before that? Yes, it's just getting so much worse now that, you know, look, how do you get out from $36 trillion in debt? People can't even fathom what that number is. I can't. You can't. $36 trillion. Unless we get a hold on it, it's just like Musk said, this country is heading for a bad place. It's either going to suffer some form of bankruptcy or some other nation that's smarter than us is going to take over power. We have to get it under the control for our kids, our grandchildren, the future of our country. So what am I saying? It's the power and control that we have to take away from these people and put it back in the hands of the people. There's power in numbers. We showed it on November 5th. People said enough. And they put Donald Trump in office because what did he offer? A change. He offered a change at the border. We don't want criminals coming over into our country. Do we want people seeking asylum? Yes, but do it the right way. We're a country of laws. That's all we're saying. Do it the right way. We want to give people asylum that need it, but do it the right way. We want programs that are going to benefit the people and not benefit people that have nothing to do with us. And I can go on and on and on, Matt, but I don't want to take up all your time.
No,
but this is the bottom line.
no worries. And I appreciate all the sentiment, and you're making these valid points about why to get on board with Team Trump. But I like what you said at the beginning, because you said, you're basically saying, I'm not going to hero worship here. I'm going with the thing that makes the most sense, which is this thing, which we have a lot of colleagues, a lot of people in our community here in Hollywood. There's not a lot, but there's some that have the same exact sentiment you just said. And they're one issue voters. And they said, you know what, the one thing that I wanted on Trump was that he just at least stop one of these wars, stop Ukraine, or there's just that one thing, and they got on board. And you can't have a problem with it. That's a very clear thing. And what you just said was very clear. I hope it also comes with the part where if Trump and Elon and Doge, after the exposing, like, I wonder what comes next after that. Is there going to be accountability of where that money then goes next? And the problem I see is, like you said, the Democrats are yelling at the top of their lungs about how you're not supposed to uncover this bad stuff. That part, to me, it is insane. It's insane that the problem is, oh, you're not supposed to pull the curtain back on that. Well, no, you are. And so they're doing that right. But I wonder, well, once that curtain's pulled back, where is the money going next? What is the next thing? Is there going to be a new? So that's, I want to know that there's enough people. Do you worry about that? Do you think there's enough people close to him that are going to hold him and Elon in check? Because you got to have checks and balances, right? Or do you think there's a chance it could go to another devious scheme after that? I don't know. Maybe I'm more pessimistic than you are, but I think we agree you got to start with pulling that curtain back.
Matt, there's no question. Our government is a behemoth. We've lost control of our government. It's plain and simple. And we have to slim it down, trim it down, and put responsible programs and people in place to administer those programs. Will we ever be running at 100% efficiency? No, it's never going to happen. Okay, but we have to keep this conservative way of dealing with it at this point to get it to the proper point. I don't know how long it's going to last, but Trump got smart. He made the same mistakes in his first presidency. He let this deficit blow up too. And I think now he's realizing this is unsustainable. It just cannot go on. We have to get control. And how do you get control? We have to shrink the size of the government. Our forefathers, they never wanted a behemoth government like this. They wanted limited government to do what the government is supposed to do, not some behemoth running every fraction of our lives. I mean, last administration, they wanted to tell us which washer and dryer we could put in our house. What kind of car we have to drive. I mean, this is ridiculous. We're a constitutional republic. We don't need people coming into our homes telling us how to dry and wash our clothes. It makes no sense whatsoever. So all of this has to be put into perspective, and we have to give the government back to the people. That's what it's all about. And if Trump makes a real effort in doing that over these next 4 years, and people start to wake up and start to see what he's doing and say, okay, our lives are improving. It's better for us now. Democrat, Republican, we don't care who it is. We want an administration that's doing the right thing. Just so happens that that's the direction that Trump is leading us in now. And Matt, I want to say another thing. One mistake that I think he might be making right now, I understand him. He's a New Yorker. He says what's on his mind. He fights. But the people that he's now giving a pink slip to the government workers, which he needs to do. But I think he's got to soften the rhetoric a little bit, because these people are voting public. They're going to go out. They're out of a job, and they're going to have to be voting, 4 years from now. You don't want to get too crazy with them. You got to tell them, listen, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We can't support your salary. It's just like in legitimate business. If business is bad and you can't afford people, you got to lay them off. And it's the same thing in our government, but he's got to tone it down a little bit. Not like he's mad at them. or that they did something terribly wrong. He's just got to put it in the right perspective. Trump has a tendency sometimes to just come on a little bit too strong.
Yeah, I
He's
agree.
doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then we saw Elon kind of has that same
Yes.
attitude, like when we saw that with the Twitter situation with the transfer of the Twitter, and you saw the whole mainstream smear that, oh, Elon's going broke, he's going to lose that, Twitter's going to go down, he's firing too many people, but he kind of brushed it off and just did his thing, and now he like turned a massive profit. He got rid of all the crap. So I don't think we're going to see any delicate articulation anytime soon, because they're just going to do what they do, and we're going to have to deal with the results there. And I think you make an excellent point. These out of work Fed workers they're gonna be up to something. What is their next move? So that might be something. I think that's a good point. We should definitely keep a look at it. But what they're doing now, we know those Feds are going, those ex-employees are going on CNN, they're going on MSNBC, and they're boo-hoo-hooing about how they can't pay their rent, and they have it's like, oh, come on. All of a sudden, you're going to try and relate to us like you're one of us, the struggling American, like where, 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They are one medical bankruptcy away, from losing everything. And like you're going to come on and tell us that a government employee, especially these FBI guys, I am sick and tired of these FBI people, the corruption. They're going to go on CNN, MSNBC, and they're going to boo-hoo-hoo, and we're supposed to feel bad for them. That's the capture of the Democratic Party. And as I do, Michael, we see it here in Southern California, that there's a lot of people that fall for that. And I actually have empathy for them. I think that they're victims of this thing, of this narrative that keeps them mad at the wrong stuff. Why are you're mad at the wrong thing? There's other things to be mad at Trump and Elon about. And I love that we're having this conversation, because we can be critical about the things. If something doesn't look right, we'll call it out. They're being told what to be mad at. They're being given the emotion. Time to feel some joy. It's Kamala time. Time to feel some fear. It's Elon time. So it's like, this is the billionaire to hate, not this billionaire. So that's what's going on the left. Where we're at here, I want to get back to this conversation that you had on Bill Maher, but we're going to take it in a little bit of a way. I want to get to JFK, but this is the structure of the government that when you lived the life, you were on, I get this right, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the Forbes top 50 powerful, what was the actual list? It was in the 80s. You were like number 17 on this list. It was the top crime gangster families. Your name was on that top 50, correct? Can you explain that to our audience, and how many of those people are left alive today?
Yeah, it was Fortune magazine, actually, and it was a 1986 article. It was a huge article. It was half the magazine, cover story, 50 biggest and most wealthiest mob bosses in the country. And yeah, they featured 6 of us. I was one of the 6 that they featured, and I was number 18 on that silly list that they made up of the most powerful mob bosses in the country. I was the youngest guy on the list. And I always say the list was silly. They didn't ask for our tax returns. It was just, they sold a lot of magazines, and they put the guys up there that they felt that were the most prominent. But out of the list of 50 today, some 30 odd years later, 48 of them are dead. Number 49 is still in prison. I'm the only one alive and free. So, that says something about how blessed and fortunate I've been, throughout my life. But, what it comes down to, Matt, with all of this is, people have fed a lot of propaganda for some reason. The 2 most dangerous things that can take down a constitutional republic, take down a democracy, 2 things. When the government, the ruling party, starts to weaponize the Department of Justice and federal agencies to go after their political enemies. We've seen that. People can deny it. They can be delirious. They can say whatever they want, but they 1000% absolutely did that against Donald Trump. No question. They wanted to destroy him financially. They wanted to imprison him. They wanted him out of their universe. They didn't want him around. They went after him in a vengeful way. And they did it to a lot of other people that were surrounding Donald Trump but didn't agree with their agenda. Very, very dangerous. That's the first sign of a dictatorship. Yeah. Secondly, when the media goes along with this and they start to whitewash important stories, they don't report the news, and they just support the party in power. And the media is absolutely complicit in that. They've done it. They continue to do it. They're doing it right now.
Yeah.
And those are two very dangerous things that can topple a government, topple our republic. So we have to get a hold of that. The media today, they're still not wising up. They saw what the people wanted on November 5th. They put Donald Trump in power, maybe not because they love Donald Trump. They may still not like him, but they said, hey, we have to be able to afford to pay our rent and put food on our table. It's not working now. We can't have these immigrants coming into our country and killing people and raping people and taking jobs that belong to us. We can't be supporting them in hotels, giving them $10,000 credit cards like they did in New York and giving them free flights in different places in the country. This is insanity. It is absolutely insanity. And for people to support this, either don't get it or they're complicit. There's one of the two things. So it's not a question of, hey, Donald Trump is a hero. But we needed a change because we need to get this country back to where it began. And the other thing people don't understand, the United States is the biggest business in the world. Whenever you have money coming in and money going out, that's business. That's business. We never had a businessman in office like Donald Trump. So he's seeing it now. He said, okay, I went through the politics. I made some mistakes. But now I understand what's going on here, and I got to help this business survive.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And I wish people would just understand that.
Yeah. No,
all these crazy programs on, the other thing, Matt, that gets me, DEI. Come on, you know how racist DEI is? Because you're saying the best people that belong in a position are not going to have that position at all. We're going to replace them with somebody else because they're a different color, a different nationality, a different ethnicity. And therefore, the best people who broke their backs to get into that position where they can get the best jobs and serve the people the best way, sorry, you're not getting it. Somebody with less experience, less knowledge, less ability, just because their name is so-and-so or their color is this, they're going to get the job. And everybody suffers at that point. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense in the real world.
Yeah. And when we look closer at programs like DEI, we understand it's coming from the top down. This is not actually something people didn't get in a room and figure this out. There were people in power in a room figuring this out. This is something that where you can control half the country with stuff where you can pull at heartstrings and confuse them and make them think this is an evolved idea when it's really working against them. And it's a power move. It really is. These are the programs. And I'm not, look, I think it's important because we have a lot of right-wing populists that watch our show, and we like to tell them, like, look, the left it's also a business within the business. The left is a business. It's a business of pretending that the left is getting things done, that there's a progress going, that the people are being taken care of, that we care about all these people. That's a business. It's a hijack. They're not actually doing those things. They're working on behest of something bigger that I believe is controlling both parties and keeping us apart on purpose. And it's only when we step out of all of it, of this matrix, we can see that is the job of the oligarchy, is to keep us in these camps. So these top-down movements are designed to trick people. And the people on the left are very easily trickable because they're acting out from their heart, and they think that these are heartfelt moves. So this is why we have to scream it at them sometimes. But I do need our right-wing populists to understand that it's coming from a good place. They're just confused. They're propagandized. They're victims of something. And I hope if we shake them hard enough, we can wake them up. But I want to go back to the media thing, because that is a huge part of this that you brought up. The media is 100% culpable of this. They are the biggest problem of all, because that should be the fourth pillar of government. We talk about three pillars: checks and balances, the three branches. It should be a table. There should be four. That fourth pillar, the fourth leg that keeps it up, is the press, and it doesn't exist. We don't have it. We're only on this show because the media doesn't do the job the journalism is supposed to do, is keep people in power in check. And so you mentioned that stuff about deliberately keeping information from people. Michael, I think it's gotten so bad. I think that it's gotten so bad that the ability to do this deception and then announce that they're doing it, they're not even covering it up. I believe they used to do this in secret. Now they're saying it out loud. Have you noticed that? Has there been a change over these these years that the media has gotten to this point where it's even more out of control because they're telling us. I'll give one example. They told us we suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop situation. We suppressed the information from you on purpose because we thought it might change your mind about who to vote for. We didn't want you to do that. And they're saying it out loud. The Washington Post, the New York Times, they have no problem telling us that. Why? Because it's for the greater good. And they think that it is noble. What are your thoughts on that? It's the greater good thing. That's my theory about it.
It's despicable. They're not reporting the news. You know, if you want to write an op-ed, that's up to you. But if you're supposed to be a responsible journalist reporting the news, you report the news as the news is. You know, and what they've been doing is absolutely terrible. It's the most dangerous thing that you can do to a society is propaganda. Every communist country, every dictatorship, they survive on propaganda, telling the people what they need to hear, what they want them to hear, and not the truth. And that's how they control them. And that's what they did. I think the people that suppressed the laptop, which had a major impact. Polling afterwards said that had they known that that laptop was real, it might have been a different outcome with Biden in the election. Who knows? I don't know. But how the hell do you suppress news like that? The FBI had already authenticated the laptop. The laptop was used in the case to convict Hunter Biden. It was all authentic. They covered it up. Those people should lose their license to report the news. It was horrible what they did. And time after time after time, they continue to do it. It's like the 51 intelligence agents that lied about the laptop. These people not only should be stripped of their security, they should suffer some accountability, some consequences. You can't have people lying like this to the American public and having such a tremendous outcome as a result of your lying. It's horrible what's going on. And, you know, Trump he's got to be diligent. He doesn't have another term that he has to worry about. He shouldn't listen to all the noise. He's got to continue on this path for the benefit of America. We're going to lose this country. There's no question. You know what else I saw it, Matt? When they uncovered all of the funds that were going for this U.S. aid, when I saw the amount of money worldwide that was going to DEI programs, it hit me. It said, these people want to change the morality of the world. They want to destroy the family by putting in all these DEI programs, by putting in all of this gender affirming stuff. They want to change, they want to destroy the nuclear family, because what makes society strong? Strong families, strong bonds. It was like when I was in the mob in our neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods were strong because we had strong family ties. We protected our neighborhood. When you break up the family, that's when you have issues. The whole problem we have in America today is the breakup of the family. You can't live like this. And these people have tried to do this worldwide. Don't worry about your gender. You could be anything you want. You're not a mother. You're an inseminated person. You're not a father. You're a parent. Who ever heard of this? This is demonic stuff that the left has embraced. And I believe this in all, look, this is demonic. This is an evil force that's going on. This is a cult. It's become a cult for them. They don't worry about the deficit. They don't worry about wars. They don't worry about people starving. They worry about this cult of DEI, this cult of transgender stuff. It's a cult. And the important things they don't even care about. It's just spreading this cultism throughout the world. It's scary, I have to tell you.
I agree. It's scary. I do think the source of it, again, is a top-down manipulation
No doubt.
by, I would say specifically Big Pharma in this case.
No
Put
doubt.
the demonic stuff aside, because I'm not gonna argue on that. I think that could absolutely be true. But if I'm starting the conversation with someone about it, I always start with the money. Follow the money. Where is once you get somebody on drugs for the rest of their life, that's a profit margin there. And there's so what when we saw it with COVID, I'm glad you brought COVID up, because we talk about this blueprint for compliance, the blueprint for fear and compliance and getting on board. And I'll say it again, it's for the greater good. This is a mentality that has been like hammered into people's heads. And COVID was the blueprint for it. Now they can do it for everything. It's not a coincidence that it's after COVID that you're seeing the transgender thing, you're seeing the DEI thing. They're using the same model. It's a top-down model of everyone get in line, 2 weeks to slow the curve. We're all in this together for the greater good. It's the same model. And I do believe that the profit model is 100% there. The profit motive is 100% there for big pharma to get as many people on their drugs for the rest of their life as possible. We've seen the numbers. You run them. These aren't guesses. It's the same. We can see it with the COVID, right? We know every single ventilator was a $30,000 bonus for a doctor. We could see the code, so you can just look at the numbers. The more people that sign up, the more you make, period. So how do you do that? You get people to think that they're part of saving humanity or being on the good team, and everyone against us is the bad guys. And I think that's what happened, as you call it, the left. I don't even know if I like to call it the left anymore, because I think that people, if they didn't have this capture on, and this is coming from someone who I was working for the Democratic Party. I knocked on, like, many, many years. I knocked on doors telling people, just so you know this, I have to go back and go, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. We knocking on thousands of doors, telling people that we were the good guys and they were the bad guys. I did that for years. And when I realized, we were actually good people. We were being tricked into doing something that was against our own interest, and we didn't know it. That's the problem. So the people that have been captured haven't figured it out yet. I hope we can get to them. But I'm telling you, the left has been captured. I don't think it truly exists anymore. I think that you have these two corporate parties that pretend to be about ideology, but really it's about keeping people separated while the oligarchy continues to run. And if Trump and Elon can get something done, even just incrementally better, then that will be worth it. But I don't think we should still recognize there's something above all of us that's keeping us in these camps. Otherwise, people are generally good that aren't being controlled like this. I want to at least believe that. So that's where I'm at. And I think we do agree on a lot of things here, Michael. Before I let you go here, I if we have a little more time with you, can we talk a little bit about JFK? Because
Sure.
this is something. When I heard you discuss this, I was this is something that we need to hear, because it's been so much in the news that and some people actually voted for Trump, saying, hey, one thing he's going to do is he's going to release these files. Before we get to the files, I want your take on that, on what's actually happening there with the files. Can you tell us, from your experience being part of a crime family during this time, or at least you must have been aware of some of the happenings that were going down, as far as the pecking order, who was getting told what to do. How did this JFK assassination play in your world, and what can you take from that and apply it to now? I want to hear your personal take on what actually went down and how did it happen.
Well, Matt, I'll tell you what I do know and what I don't know. What I know for a fact, and I will swear to it, and if it was a matter of life and death, and I had answer A or B, number one, was the mob involved in the assassination? Or number two, were they not? I would have to say, and my life depends on the correct answer, it would be 100% we were. No question about it. It's not disputable. Okay? So here's the thing. I don't know why the government, whether it be the CIA or whoever engineered the assassination, and I believe it did come from the government, okay? They engineered it, whether it be the CIA, whether it be Johnson, or all these things that are coming around. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know it was the government that came to the mob. It came to us to help clean it up. Now, what do I mean by that? Oswald, there had to be a cleanup after that. Okay. And they came to us. We were already upset with the Kennedys. Why were we upset? Two reasons. Number one, Joe Kennedy, who was a bootlegger, he was around Costello. There's no question about it. They tried to cover up, but he actually was. He was in that business. You couldn't be in that business during the Depression and during Prohibition and not be connected with the mob. You couldn't be. So even to try to hide that is ridiculous, but he was with Costello, right? So when the election came, Nixon and Kennedy, razor thin margin that Kennedy won. We had to deliver Illinois to them. We delivered Illinois to the Kennedy camp. A deal was made that the Department of Justice would back off the mob. What happened? Robert Kennedy ignored it, and he went full force on the mob. He went after Hoffa, and he went after Carlos Marcello, and he went after a lot of guys. We were very angry about that. So when the government came to us and said, we need help, like they came to us 3 times before during World War II, a fact, they went to Luciano and Meyer Lansky. We helped them bring our forces to our allied forces to Sicily. No question about that. It's not even covered up. Second time, they were going to assassinate Castro. They came to us. There was supposed to be an attempt on his life, poison. Didn't work out, but they absolutely came to us. That's recorded and documented. And this time they came again. Jack Ruby. Jack Ruby was a mob associate, first with Capone, then with Accardo, and then with the people in Dallas and Marcello. He ran strip clubs for Marcello. He was 100% with us. And it was Ruby that killed Oswald. We all know that. He was able to get into the police department that time because he had connections there. They were corrupt, and he did the bidding. So they came to us. We were more than happy to comply because we hated the Kennedys at that point. 100%. I've heard that from the right people my entire life, including my father, who was the underboss of the family, including Persico and all the guys in the know that were there at the time. No question about it. And guys in my life, we don't take credit for stuff like that. We try to hide the fact that we did it. Nobody gets up and say, hey, we killed Kennedy. Of course not. But the right people have informed me of that throughout my life. No question. So here's going to be the barometer and the test. When they release these files, the confidential files, classified documents, if they do, they've had 60 years to manipulate with them. So who knows what's going to be true or not. But if those documents state, like they've tried to state in the past, other people have said that Jack Ruby was not affiliated with the mob. If those classified documents say that again, then you can throw them all out. It's another cover up because there's no question that he was, and that he was engaged by us to kill Oswald, to help clean it up so Oswald wouldn't talk. Was he the only shooter? I don't believe so, but I don't know that for a fact. So I'm not going to say what I don't know for a fact. What I know for a fact is that Jack Ruby was associated with the mob and helped to clean up by killing Oswald. No doubt about it. And we were more than happy to comply with that request.
Well, recently, and I think after we had first met, right, even the next day, I believe the timing was funny because we were talking about JFK, and then CNN admitted there was some sort of like admittance on their end that there was a second shooter. I thought that was fascinating because it's interesting because we get called conspiracy theorists for everything, right? Everything we've been talking about today, Michael, is conspiracy theory, arena, right? It's fair game for them to just throw that at us. That original usage of that word, it wasn't created at the time, but it was pushed by the CIA when people in 1963 were talking about a second gunman. So I think it's so interesting that all these years later, that the CNN news network can, and in that reporting of, hey, yeah, we're admitting there is a second shooter, they're still calling people conspiracy theorists. They're still using the language that was fed to them, and that we see it pops up every time there's a new thing, whether it's 9/11 or whether it's these last 5 years with COVID and everything we've been talking about today. I just think that's fascinating. But when you're talking about what we're going to see and what we're not going to see in these files, I think you make a great point about if there's no mention of the mob, then clearly it's not legit. If that happens, do you think that's a result of somebody in Trump's team or somebody who got their hands on it in between or intercepted it at this point before the release, and that's why it happened? Or do you think it's a cause of something even worse, as if maybe it already had been eliminated, and maybe when we're talking about the JFK files, that it doesn't actually exist in there at all, that it's already been removed, it's already gone, and we're going to get what we're going to get, and there's nothing we can do about it? Which do you think is more likely in those two scenarios?
I think the latter is more likely because I don't believe that our government would ever want the world to know that a sitting president was able to be assassinated with the help of the mob. I don't think they want people to know that. So I don't know if these classified documents were legit from day one, or was there responsible people in there that did report it legitimately, and then they were taken out or redacted afterwards. Who knows? It's been 60 years.
Yeah.
Well, who knows what we're going to see? I don't rely on anything. You know, there was a time, you go back to the 50s, 60s, even to the early 70s, when the government said something, people believed it. Okay, it's the government, it's true. When the news was reported, we believed it. And for the most part, it was unbiased back then. Now, how could you believe anything? These people lie so much. They gaslight us so much. They commit so much fraud on us. How could you believe anything that comes out of the government? It's very difficult. That's why, you know, look, when you look at the amount of waste that we're seeing now through Doge, I want them to say, this is all a lie. These are made up numbers, and I want them to go in and prove it. Back up what you're saying. Don't just be saying this stuff. Trump and Musk are uncovering this. If you're saying it's false, back it up. Get the accounting and show where the money went. They can't do that. This money's corrupt. I heard Chelsea Clinton was given $80 million for aid in Haiti.
Yeah, we saw that.
80 million.
Yeah.
3 million went to pay for her wedding, and 9 million went for a mansion. Who's talking about that? This is horrendous. Where did that money go? Where's the accounting on it?
Yeah.
Why that should have been in the news every single day.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's conveniently left out, just like when Donald Rumsfeld told us on September 10th of 2001 that $2 trillion was missing from the Pentagon. That story went away the very next day because I guess a bigger story, took over the news cycle. I don't know what that could have been, but yeah.
Think of yourself. Think of yourself. You got a 9-to-5 job. You're barely surviving. You're putting food on your table. You're having trouble paying the rent, and you're hearing millions of dollars that would take care of you, your family, your grandchildren forever, and they're wasting it on us. People should be outraged.
Yeah,
they should be outraged. And listen, I'm not suffering over this. I make a decent living. I don't like the fact that they're wasting my money, but it's not changing the course of my life. But imagine people that are being so impacted by this. They should be outraged. And I think they are. And I think I really believe that Trump wants to do the right job. Until I see something different, that's what I'm going to believe. And I hope he doesn't let us down.
Michael, who do you think gave the order for the hit on Ruby?
Who gave the order?
Yeah.
Well,
because you're saying that the order was given to the mob, which I fully believe. I think most intelligent people can believe that is a pretty conclusive 90-something%. Who gave that order? Who's calling the shots at the top?
Well, again, I don't want to speak with something that I don't have exact knowledge of. I can't identify a person, but I think it was absolutely a member of the government, a government participant, and most likely the CIA. Now, was that bandied around? Yes, it was during my time in that life, but a person wasn't identified. Hey, this particular person came to this particular person, but I'll tell you who it went to. It went to Accardo and Carlos Marcellus, New Orleans and Chicago. And why did he go? Remember what Robert Kennedy did to Marcellus? He deported him and left him in a jungle in South America. The guy had to claw his way back. So we hated the Kennedys. I remember I was 12 years old, I believe, when he died. I'm sitting out in my back patio, and it came all over the news. You're too young to remember, but for 3 days solid on network television, all you heard was the Kennedy, 24/7. Every other show was disrupted, right? 3 days. So I remember walking into my house from my backyard. My mother and father were there, and my mother said, "Oh, God, what a shame." And my father looked at her and said, "A shame? That rat and his whole family should be dead." So that was my father, underboss of the Colombo family at that time, So he knew something. He didn't say anything, but my dad was higher up in that life to know what was going on. So was it somebody in government that came to us and said, yes, absolutely. And then we took it from there. They didn't say, hey, we want Ruby. We did that. But, they tried to say Ruby was a patriot. Ruby had strip joints. Ruby was in trouble half his life. Ruby didn't like the government at all. They just whitewashed this whole thing with that, because again, I don't believe they want the world to know that the mob was complicit in the assassination of a sitting president. That's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the outcome we're talking about guessing what's the next thing that's going to happen, and I got to say, Michael, as of even the last 24 hours, I'm very skeptical that we're going to get the lists that we were promised, and I'm not saying it's even Trump's fault. I think that there's too much in the way. The thing that we hope that he and Elon are cleaning things up, and it looks like in some regards they are, but the idea that you have the Jeffrey Epstein list, and you got Pam Bondi sitting there not responding. They were supposed to, we haven't seen it, and it was supposed to be released, and it makes me feel like there's too many things at play in the way. And like, even when you said about when they do release the JFK files, what's going to be missing, I'm thinking we might not even get everything at all. They might just say, you know what, we dropped the ball on, or something went wrong. I don't know if we're getting the Epstein files. I don't know if we're getting all of this stuff. I don't know if we're getting any of this stuff. And I think it might be because there's too many things in the way. And our system might be that rigged that even with a team like Trump bringing in, can't actually fix it. That's my pessimistic take. I don't know if you have a better take of that. If you've seen that, like, we haven't seen the Epstein files. We were supposed to see them by now. We don't have them.
Let me tell you something. I totally agree with you. And I'm going to tell you, Trump has been like a bull in a china shop. But this is high level stuff. This guy's got to worry about his security. I mean, this government kills people. The government kills people. People need to know that. This is not a fantasy or fiction. They kill people. He's got to be very careful. That Epstein list is going to be damaging, tremendously damaging, if it really comes out. I will tell you this. I would stake my life on the fact that Epstein did not commit suicide. I was in that jail, in that tier. I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary. I couldn't have committed suicide if I tried. If I tried, if I really put an effort into it, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It's total BS. There's a lot in the Epstein thing that people don't want it. And these are powerful people. Trust me. So, and the same with the Kennedy thing. Are we ever going to get the truth? They had 60 years to manipulate whatever they wanted to manipulate. I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard Kennedy's brain is lost. How the heck do you lose the brain of the president? That's what I'm hearing. And I think that's factual. His brain was lost after the autopsy. Give me a break.
I've heard that too. There's so many convenient accidental misplacements that have happened. People taking their eye off the ball purposely. That entire thing. We might not never know. We might not ever know. But Michael, I appreciate your sharing with us today, your experience and your wisdom, because we have to apply that to our current situation. We always got to apply what we know. And I guess before you go, I wanted to circle back and point out you've become this motivational speaker. You become a podcaster. These aren't just one time. I know I mentioned the Bill Maher thing, and I mentioned you've gone on stuff, but this is what you do now. You go out and inspire. You engage. You help to educate using your experience. This is. Can you tell us a little more? Anything I'm missing? You want to let our audience know how they can find you, where they can check out your stuff, and this specifically this type of work you do. How does it feel to make this change? I just threw a lot at you, but I just want our audience to know that's what you're doing now. Completely the opposite of where you came from, by the way.
Well, yeah, Matt, I've been extremely blessed. I believe, God had a different plan and purpose for my life. And I've become a speaker. I've been speaking now for the last 30 years all over the world. I give my testimony. I speak to corporate America. I speak to Major League Baseball and the NBA, and I speak in universities, and I go into prisons and just really share a story of a changed life and how people can come out of a bad situation and improve their lives. It takes hard work. It takes some blessing. It takes some luck. It takes good support, but you can do it. So I've been spreading that message for years. I've written 5 books now. There is a movie that'll probably go into production later on this year based upon my life. I want to mention one thing. It's important. I wrote a book about a year ago, I should say, entitled A Mafia Democracy. If people want an education on how this government works, then this is the book right here. You can get it online, get it everywhere. It's all over the place. And it'll give you an education. And there's no fluff in this book. This is from my personal experience and the experience of others that I know. And I think it's an important read. So people have to be educated on our system, because that's the only way they're going to know right from wrong with it. They have to be educated. I have a, pretty successful YouTube channel myself. We're all over social media, and, just been very fortunate. And look, I feel my platform now is really to get the truth out from my perspective. I see things a little bit differently, and I want to be honest with people. Matt, there's a saying in life: to those who have been given much, much is expected in return. And I've been given my life and my freedom and a family and a career and everything else. So I want to share my knowledge to help people. And that's what it is. It's about truth. I tell people all the time, I may make a mistake in something I'm saying, but I'm never going to lie to you. I'm going to tell it like I see it. I'm going to speak it. People say, Michael, you brought into you're in the Trump Kool-Aid. I said it earlier. If Trump makes a mistake that I think he's going in the wrong direction, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, I'm going to call it as I see it. And because we want people to go on and live their lives the way they should. We live in the greatest country in the world, and people are entitled that live here and pay their taxes and do the right thing. They're entitled to enjoy their life. And that's what we're looking for.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for sharing that. I got your website here. People can check it out. And I love to, when we have an opportunity like this, to bring the site up, you guys can see it for yourself. You can go right here and you'll be able to grab the book. It's an incredible book. Go through the whole story, and not to mention the fact that you can listen to Michael having these speeches, having these discussions. You have your own podcast. You're talking to people all the time. It's so important, especially right now, to have these conversations. And we fight against that censorship industrial complex. I know you're appreciative of that as well, that we have, there's conversations they don't want us to have, but we keep having them. You keep having them. You inspire people like us. I again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us today at The Homeless Left, Michael. I hope we can continue the conversation in the future.
We will, Matt, and I appreciate it. And thanks for, bearing with my voice. Last week, from Sunday to Sunday, I was in 5 cities on 9 different flights, and all I was doing was talking, and it just got to me a little bit. But this week's a little bit calmer. It's okay.
Very good. No, totally understand. You did great, by the way. I totally forgot that you had anything going on there, because we were so engaged in the conversation. So thank you again, Michael. Everybody, Michael Franzese, thanks so much for joining us on The Homeless Left. Take care.
You got it, my friend. Take care. Thank you.